Hey everybody, it's Blue, and I'm going to go through and show you our revised version for our Season 1, 7 Stars Season, Jaden deck. So, just a little bit about it, is we looked through it, and we decided to retool it a little bit, based on cards that we felt were really, unhelpful during duels. Because what we've started to do is revise some of our decks that had over 40 cards, and just start dropping cards that, even though the character played them, and they may have played them often, if they were cards we didn't play much in our duels, because of, real circumstances versus anime circumstances, we decided to drop them. So we dropped a couple cards from this deck. It went from 50 to 44. So, and it's something you can expect to see more in the future, as we're going to start cutting through some decks, trying to improve the ones. Again, it's going to apply to ones that are over 40. So this deck has been cut down, again, like I said, a little bit over 40, maybe down the road again that change, but this is what we're working with for now. It's definitely a little bit faster, plays a little bit smoother, and we're happy with it. So I'm going to go through it real quickly. And again, when this deck was even built, we took out a lot of cards that Jaden played often, but were hard to use in, real-life situations. Primarily all the E-Hero specific, support cards. So like Feather Shot, Bubble Blaster. They were really cool cards and they're a lot of fun to play, but unlike the anime, they're a lot harder to play in real life because you have so many E-Heroes and so many equip spells that work on only one monster. So those unfortunately never made it into this deck, and of what did make it into, we cut it a little bit further down. So again, this is what we have for our Season 1 Jaden deck. We may tweak it in the future if we focus on that a little bit more, but for now, this is what we're rocking with. It's still, a lot of fun. It still feels like Jaden. So, starting off is Avian. I mean, it has all the E-Heroes from Season 1, and they're all one quantity, so we did not duplicate anything from them. So, Avian, Burstinatrix, Clayman, Sparkman. So the original those four normal E-Heroes that end up in so many fusions. And again, that's one of the problems with the E-Hero archetype, though, is you have so many different fusion pieces, and even though it has a wide variety of fusion monsters, still oftentimes Delta Rider play the deck, we end up with combinations that have no fusions, like Blade Edge and most E-Heroes. Burstinatrix works her way into a few, so is Clayman. They're very prominent, but Avian comes up a fair chunk too, but you still can end up with very interesting combinations where there is unfortunately no fusion monster. Wildheart's another one where he's a great monster himself. He only has a couple of fusions, so it's stuff like that is what hurts the deck a little bit. So next up is one of the few non-E-Hero monsters in the deck is Dark Catapulter. We already cut down monsters because monsters are universally useful. It was the spells and traps that really took a hit because there's so many spells and traps. So Dark Catapulter, Blade Edge, the awesome Blade Edge. Again, great E-Hero. It's a tribute, so it makes it a little bit harder to summon than the others. And the problem is he comes up short on, fusion lists. Bubble Man. And again, so Bubble Man's a card we errated not too long ago because its anime effect is a little bit differently. Bubble Man's effect is that when it's the only card on the field when it's summoned, you can draw 2 cards. Ours says it has to be the only card on the field and in the hand, which is what makes it harder to, use. So now, again, and you can find all of our erratas listed in our errata document. They're all formally written. But this one makes it easier to get the draw effect because he just has to be the only card in the field, not the only card on the field and in your hand. Next up is Necroshade. Definitely a fun one. It definitely helps with Blade Edge, but also does not really have a lot of fusions for him. Wildheart. And the last 2 monsters are the remaining non-E-Heroes. One is Winged Karibo. So, of course, it was Jaden's Spirit Buddy, so he definitely has to be included. And again, Wing Kribo level 10 did not make it into this deck in any version because it's a little hard to use. It needs Wing Kribo plus Transcendent Wings. And even though I'm not saying it's like a really bad card, the problem is then, just again, how many different themes Jaden deck has. Because it has all the E-Heroes, which, for the most part, have a lot of combinations, but at the same time, there's, a fair amount of ones that don't have combinations. We dropped all the specific spells because you would definitely end up with like a Bubble Man and a Spark Blaster, or Avian and Bubble Blaster, and it would really just slow down the deck. So, Wing Kribo, yes, Wing Kribo level 10, unfortunately, was a bit too cumbersome in our first version of the deck. Lastly is Rottweiler, because, of course, it goes with the E-Heroes. It helps you get back cards to make fusions, so it helps you kind of excel a little bit in the whole making fusions thing, which is ultimately what this deck kind of works to do. So, starting with the spells is Battle Fusion. So now that this deck has been cleaned up a little bit, it's a little bit easier to make fusions. Battle Fusion becomes more effective once you can start making fusions easier. Dark Factory Mass Production, again, definitely helps you get that fusion thing going by returning your lost pieces. Defusion, again, we say this in just about every deck profile, so that if you don't see every one, you're seeing one of them, you still get the same information. Great card in GX, not just because you can diffuse your own monster and get tribute pieces out of it or make more attacks, but because diffusion is when you diffuse an opponent's monster, they don't get the pieces back. That only applies if the pieces are in your graveyard, i.e. your own fusion monster. So it's a great way to just completely clear out an opponent's fusion monster, which is so prevalent in GX. That's what made it really cool. It actually was a lot of fusions made for a really interesting, the way that those were set up. Double Spell is never not useful. E-Call, always useful, especially you people who play competitively and played Heroes. You know what this card's for. Emergency Provisions, never really a bad thing to have, if you're down life points and you have cards that just aren't helpful to you at the moment. Okay, so the one other Kribo card we did leave in was Fleet of Summoning Kribo, because it gets you the Wing Kribo, who can help you against attacks, and that's kind of what this is. So if you don't have him, you get this. It works just the same. You summon Kribo, you add Kribo, and then you can get that attack defense in. Fusion Gate, because fusions. Dark Sage. H-Heated Heart. Miracle Fusion. So again, the very clear and consistent focus of the cards in the deck is making fusions. Mirage of Nightmare, always a fun card. Can be your biggest help or your downfall, depending on how it is, because for what you draw, you also discard, and it can definitely be, tricky. Monster Reborn, Monster Reincarnation, Oversoul. So again, a couple of the more neutral hero cards, so Hero, but none of the equip spells for specific ones because it does slow the deck down. The only card in 2 copies is Polymerization because it's Jaden. He actually used 2 copies. So we definitely wanted to keep that. Plus, just with how much he makes fusions, it never hurts to have another card in this deck that helps him make fusions. Especially when you have, a fusion monster that can only be made by another fusion monster. Because he doesn't have any of the substitute fusion cards. So, Pod Greed, All Righteous Justice, Silent Doom, Skyscraper. And again, with Skyscraper, it does make some of the individual E-Heroes a little bit better because they do gain that 1,000. and some of them like Sparkman for sure, that's definitely enough attack to get over, a wide variety of, the monsters you'll see in character duels. Special Hurricane, again, great card when everyone's making fusions and you have the out to fusions. Or any special summon monster. The last spell card, Warrior Turning Alive. So to sum up the spells, if they're not generic cards like Monster Reborn, Pot of Greed, Double Spell, they are cards that either help you get back monsters, so also Monster Reborn, Monster Reincarnation, Warrior Turning Alive, Dark Factory Mass Production, or they're cards that make you fusions. Polymerization, Fusion Sage, Miracle Fusion, Fusion Gate. So again, now the deck is a lot more linear in that it has, less things it's trying to do, so it does the few things it still does better. Training Shield is never a bad card to have. Hero Barrier. Hero Ring. Hero Signal. Mirror Force, there goes all the that hero streak we had. So Mirror Force, was originally seen by Yugioh all the time, and now we see Jaden gets a copy. So his trap lineup, of course, like any trap lineup, is really, super defensive. So we have his monsters for, offense, and then, of course, fusion pieces. We have the spells to support fusion making, and then, of course, the traps to defend it. So the deck works to make fusions and protect itself and the fusions. Mirror Gate, negate attack. So definitely a lot of cards in this deck that will, stop your opponent from attacking, hopefully buy you time to get a fusion together. Solemn Judgment, the ultimate out to anything. Staunch Defender, and rounding out with Super Junior Confrontation. So not the strongest ending. These cards can be tricky to use, but overall, I mean, they have their moments for sure. They definitely come in handy sometimes. And overall, the deck has, a fairly strong lineup. So, that's the main deck. Obviously, there's a fusion deck. Now, I want to quickly address something about this fusion deck. We used to have it arranged so that each of our 2 Jaden decks, and we'd adapt it for more down the road, have their own respective fusion deck. Based on what was played in that season, because we are overall very careful about how we build decks, as it pertains to each season. But unlike the original anime where we felt that there was a clear cut of decks between seasons, the GX anime, it seemed like people would have a deck in season A, and then season B they start with that deck and they switch out. So notable examples are Jaden having his E-Hero deck we established in season 1, carrying it to the beginning of season 2. Then he can't see the cards anymore, so he gets his new deck. And they make it so relevant he's changing his deck that in a case like this, we don't really want to assume that, he had a whole new deck anyway for heroes that, he had in Season 2, then switched. So, because they make that deck change so relevant, and the same thing follows with Zane's Cyber Dragons and Cyber Darks, so we're ruling that the beginning of Season 2 is more or less his deck from Season 1, and then because he switches it, that's so relevant, we took some cards, we looked at some stuff in the Season 2 hero deck, and essentially, because he can more or less make all fusions at all times, we have one combined fusion deck that will apply to any Jaden E-Hero or E-Hero Neros deck. So, what this means is that this is not his Season 1 fusion deck. So this is not the fusion deck that goes with this deck. The fusion deck is kind of separate, and we would attach it to any Jaden deck we use that can make E-Hero fusions. So you combine this deck with a Neos fusion deck for his Season 2 deck. if that makes any sense what I'm saying. Basically, we're making this fusion deck not specific to this season. So it includes all the E-Hero fusions he makes in Season 1, and, you know, the 2 he made from Season 2 that he didn't make in Season 1 that he could have at any time. Anyway, so basically, this is the, you know, the E-Hero fusion deck. So, Electrum to start off with. The classic Flame Wingman. Elemental Hero Mariner. Mudball Man. Wild Wingman. So this is one of the ones, this and Mariner were the ones we added to the fusion so that they weren't strictly played in Season 1, but again, the way we're going with it is that it was the same deck. So they're probably there, just never used. I know it's kind of weird, but it's just kind of how we interpreted the anime, and that's how we're ruling with. And a lot of other, you know, some other characters, some other like the first anime, we felt it was a more clear change. You know, I mean, and again, we know Yuki changed his deck. You know, for example, Yuki didn't really build a whole new deck. He changed his deck a lot. It always had the same core components, but it's easier to build 2 different decks for him, whereas Jaden's hero deck that appears in the beginning of Season 2 is relatively unchanged. Plus, they stress, you know, later in the season, the whole, oh, he has to have a new deck. And I think it would be strange script writing if he switched his deck at the beginning of the season, but then switched it again, but this time was built up. So moving on is Necroid Shaman. Rampart Blaster. So definitely a lot of Clayman and especially Burstanatrix fusions. Shining Flare Wingman, the only one he has that's made up of a fusion plus another E-Hero. Steam Healer. Tempest, so the one that's 3 pieces, 3 heroes individually. Again, as opposed to Shining Flare Wingman, which is 2 plus 1. And we're going to round it out with Thunder Giant and Elemental Hero Wild Edge. So, like, the only Blade Edge fusion, really, unfortunately, because it is such a cool monster, and unfortunately, it is, though, you know, a little bit difficult to use. But, in any way, so that is, again, Jaden's E-Hero fusion deck, and any of our decks that are, you know, E-Hero based, well, Jaden's E-Hero based fusion decks anyway, would have access to it. So no, the Supreme King does not have this fusion deck because even though he could theoretically make some of these because he has the right E-Heroes, it came down to he never played E-Heroes. He wasn't meant to play E-Hero fusions. He focused on the evil hero fusions. So this would be, you know, Jaden Season 1 deck, Jaden Season 2 deck, any other subsequent Season Jaden decks that are E-Hero based. It would just be that. We wouldn't switch out based on what we did or did not see in that season. So, hopefully I didn't butcher that too much and you guys kind of follow what I'm saying yet. But we're just changing a little bit to make sure that, you know, other decks could make, you know, the variety of fusions. So, that's it for Jaden's Season 1 or 7 Stars Elemental Hero deck. Definitely stay tuned for some more updated deck profiles from us and a lot more things coming in the future. So, thanks guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.